be scared. We are starting with the PowerPoint. Are you seeing our PowerPoint?
It is good to go. Thank you so much.
Okay, but we will work in PowerBI Desktop to show how things are done, but we should present ourselves first. So,
as you know, I'm Maria, and this is Bruno.
We work in Portugal in a company called DevScope, and we are BI developers, and we work mainly with Power BI. So we will talk about what are field parameters and when does it make sense, or when and how to implement them. We will share with you some tips and tricks about them, and by the end, we will wrap up the session with some considerations and sharing some limitations. We will have time to question and answers before the end of the session, but in the middle of our demonstrations and different use cases, we will give time to you put your questions so we can answer them if we know how to answer them. If we don't, we will get the answer for you. And that's it. Let's start our session. So what are field parameters in Power BI? You want to explain a little bit?
Yes. Yeah. So the field parameters are a feature in Power BI Desktop. Okay. This is a feature still in preview. So we'll show you how to have these available in your Power BI Desktop. But mainly, the main of the field parameters is allow users to change dynamically the measures or the dimensions or both to analyze in a report or specific in a visual. So let's start, right? Bruno, you want to add something? Or can I?
You can.
Just show our hero. So, like Bruno said, we have here several demonstrations that we want to share with you. So this is a quick review, but we want to start in Power BI service to see this really happening, to show later how this is made in Power BI Desktop. But we want to show first the final report to see how it works and how we can do this.
The objective of our session is, by the end of our session, you should be able to call the field parameter as a hero, like we are calling now, because it's a new feature. Like Maria said, it's still in preview, but is helping changing the reports and is helping to save time and work in those reports. So let's start seeing what we can do.
So first scenario. The main request in here is to have one visual that dynamically can be changed the dimension that we want to display our sales amount. We only will show a single measure, in this case, like I said, sales amount, but we want to choose our axis and show different types of analysis using these measures. So you can see here that if I select country, my axis change, right, and show the countries. The title is dynamic as well, so I can select, and this is very quick to change. And I want to show you as well that we have these groups. So in this case, we have just one dimension in here, but we have here the possibility to drill down and show, for example, these groups, the cities grouped by country, or for example, we can drill down to the next hierarchy and show only the countries in this analysis.
So we are seeing a slicer in the left that is not slicing anything. Is allowing us dynamically choose different fields from different dimensions. So our report has only one visual with what we want to analyze against the sales amount in this case. One measure that is fixed, but we can dynamically change the field that we want to analyze by that measure.
So how can you make this, right? So let's go to the Power BI Desktop. In here, I want to show you first how can you activate this feature, okay, because this is in preview, so this is not out of box. So I have to go to the file, to options, and make sure this is still opening. We can go to the preview features, and you can see here that we have here this selected.
Selected, right?
This is important to have this available in our PowerBI desktop. So okay, and now in modeling, we have here the new parameter, and we have here the fields that will allow us to create a field parameter.
Okay, so we need to create one field parameter, right?
Exactly.
And when we click to create a field parameter, is opening a wizard, right, to help us to do so. So
exactly. So in this case, we can rename this, and I will call this dimension fields, and I will select, for example, a country, a city from the same table, okay, but in the next we'll select the product and, for example, the manufacturer.
so 4 fields from different tables.
Exactly.
And it will work by default.
Exactly.
Okay.
So in this case, we have this selected by default, add slicer to this page. We can unselect it, but we'll maintain this in here because we want to create the slicer to have these available to create our visuals. So I will click create.
But as you know, I like to change things in the session as well. So to be more spontaneous to the people that are seeing us, can you only give a quick flash of the model that we are using? That is a very easy model.
This is a small model. We have here our sales, and then we have here some dimensions: geography, calendar, product, and the manufacturer.
Okay, so we selected city and country from geography.
Geography, exactly.
That is connected to sales. That is our fact table. And we selected the product from the product table and the manufacturer from the manufacturer. Okay.
Exactly.
Those two are connected, manufacturer and product. So a snowflake. But the geography is not related to any product or manufacturer table. Okay. No. They are centralizing the fact that they should be. Okay.
So in this case, to show this quickly working, I will select here a table, and I will drag my field parameter to this table. As you can see, I will put this more. You can see in here, we don't have any selection in the field, in dimension fields, but by default, all the fields appears in my table automatically, okay? So I will select here our sales amount, and we can see all the values by country, city, product, and manufacturer.
Okay.
As well, I can show you that if I select only one column, we have only one column. And if I select more than one, the columns will be appearing in our table.
Okay, so it's having, and it is very, I think, very easy to understand that is reacting to your selection. But what I want to see, if you selected from the bottom to the top, it will keep the same order.
Exactly. The order of this selection will affect the table. So if I select first the manufacturer, this will be the first column, and then so on. The selection will be appearing, and we can change. And
so we can construct the table as we want, with the order from the columns that we want.
Exactly.
Okay, that's great.
But we want to change this to a column chart, right?
Okay.
So we can see, I will clear the selection, but I can see, I will just do something in here.
But in the table, when you had the table without anything selected, You should sort by, right? Okay.
Yes,
should,
I
you
only-
should sort by to be by the value of the cells. Okay. The highest column is on your left, but you like that way and it makes sense to read, and that's okay for me. But when you were showing the table, I was seeing 4 fields plus the measure. So right now I'm only seeing 1 and nothing is selected.
Exactly. By default, we have here the first field appearing in the axis. But
Okay.
like I said before, we have here the hierarchy bottom. Then we can drill down and see all the other columns are inside this, because this is creating an hierarchy for our dimensions. Okay. So in this way, you can see all of them are inside the visual, but for default view is only the first one in our
Okay,
list.
like what was happening in the table, but making a default hierarchy between them so we can navigate through that hierarchy.
Exactly.
And that hierarchy, if that is true, that hierarchy should be responding to the same order that we are selecting the fields.
Exactly. For example, if I select first product, only have the product in here, we can see we don't have an hierarchy because we only have one selected.
Okay.
But then if I select the city,
I can see the cities where I bought those sell
these products,
sell
yes,
those
yes.
products.
So
Okay.
you can see in here that we have all the
products
all
sold
the products sold
in each
sold.
city.
Mhm,
Okay.
exactly.
Okay.
In here we have this working, right? But then we want to
I am
do
as
something like,
yes,
right?
we want to do something. As you know, I'm the question man, so I will give you another question that I understand that the country, the city, and the product and the manufacturer, they are ordered the way that you choose the fields in the wizard. Because I was looking and I saw that you select country first and then city and then product and then manufacturer.
Yes, the order is not by alphabetical, but
Yes,
the order that
yes.
I selected.
So what is respecting what you did in the beginning. But my question is, if I want to change it, if I want to reorder to have a different way to show in the visual, is that possible? Can I open the wizard again and rearrange the fields?
No, the right answer in here is we can reorder, but
Okay.
we cannot open again the wizard. Okay, the wizard is only appearing in the creation of the field parameter, and then we cannot open this again.
Okay, so there's no wizard available anymore after the first creation of field parameter.
Exactly. But like I said, it's possible to reorder, and
So-
I have to show you how you can do this, right?
Okay, please.
So first of all, I want to show you that when you make this, these are creating a table, okay? This table in here, you can see that have 3 columns. The first one is the name that's appearing in the list, right? The country, city, product, and manufacturer. The second one is the reference to our column table that we are seeing, the values that we are seeing then.
To our source things, right?
Exactly.
To our source fields, our source columns in this case.
Exactly,
Okay.
this is the reference to them. And then we have here the column with the order of this. But how the order works, right? This first column is sorted by the last one, okay?
And this is the first one that we are grabbing to put in our visuals.
Exactly.
It's the name that we want to show.
To show, exactly.
Okay.
So this one is ordered by this one. So in theory, if I change this, I can change the order of these columns.
Okay.
So I want to show you the DAX behind this, okay? This is a column created in DAX. So you have here, the first one, this is the string of the name that is showing in the list. The second one is, I will put this more. The first one is the string. The second one is a function that is referencing the table and the column, like I said before. And then we have the number, right? So what we can do, basically, we can go here and change this for 3 and this 2. Okay?
Okay.
That way, in here, we don't have the order, right? Because this is the order of the lines that we are creating, but this will show in the visual that you can see the the order changes.
Right? So now we have manufacturer and then we have product. Okay, so
Exactly.
we can control the way that we will put the list in the visuals.
Exactly.
Okay, thank you.
So it will affect as well the hierarchy, like we said before, the hierarchy that the visual will show, because if I go drill down, we'll drill down first for the manufacturer and then to the product, okay?
Okay, I saw, can you go back to the DAX, please? I saw that we have a function, the name of, right?
Mhm.
That's the importance of that function is to grab the table from the column from the source table. And that is not fixed like a text, like it is in the first column. That is because if we need to change the name of the column, we don't need to go here and change it. It will change for us like a name of a measure or something that we'll reuse in DevScope.
Exactly. If you change the name of the column in your source table, this will reference always that column. So that's why we use name of.
Okay. So that won't break and we don't need to change the field parameter as well.
Exactly.
Okay.
So, but I want to show you another trick, okay? Because like you saw in the report that we show at the start, the product has a different name, right?
Yes.
And we grouped our dimensions in two different fields, right?
Okay.
So this is DAX, so you can change this manually. So I will show you.
You are not going to break it, right?
I will not break it.
Okay.
By default, the name of these columns is the same of the columns in the table, but then this is a string, so I can change this, for example, and change the product to product code. So I can show you, this is automatically changing in here. So I will as well add a new column. So in this case, you can see we have here 3 elements in our list, but then I can actually add with a comma another column. I have to do this for all.
Why are you doing that? Why are you creating a new column to this list of 4 items?
This is to be used as a group in our list.
Okay, so we can, if we have a huge list, we can use new columns that we can create to organize the items so it will be easy to the user understand the contents of them and how to use them.
Exactly, that's
Okay.
true. So you can see in here that our column is created as value 4. You don't have here.
I don't like value 4.
I will change. It's very easy. So you can double click or rename this, and you can put here the group.
Okay, that's nice. Thank you.
So in this case, I have this available to, in my slicer, add this group in here. So in this case,
And field parameters will behave the same way.
the same way, exactly the same way. So you can use this to only select one option, or you can select the whole group to show in here, because it makes sense to the hierarchies to select this in group.
Okay.
That's it, right, for the first one?
It is, and I understood what you explained, and I accept that first use case as something that will make my life easier doing the report.
And you see that this is very
I don't know if we have questions so far, if you have something that we can clarify.
We don't have any questions in chat, and I'm actively monitoring chat. So unless someone wants to come off mute now and ask their question, I think we're good to go.
Okay.
Okay, perfect. So we have here a different scenario, okay? And in this scenario, we don't want to have our dimensions in the axis, right?
Yes, we don't want to analyze by dimension fields against the fixed measure, but we want to go deeper in our analysis and compare values for each dimension that we are analyzing. For example, country, I don't want to see the value for all the countries, but I want to see what was sold in each of the countries, or compare
them.
2, 3, 4 countries. The same for the cities and the same for the other categories. So this is a request to, and I'm feeling that this will be more complex or hard to do, because are we mixing the columns for those dimensions, or that is field parameters only?
This is
showing
only
this?
field parameters, okay?
Okay, so I will let you explain and how we get this, because I'm seeing the fields that we had: country, city, manufacturer, and product, and I'm seeing the values that I can choose inside them, right?
Exactly.
To compare them.
Uh,
And what is that total that you have in the first one?
So this is a trick that I will show you as well, because in this case,
Okay.
as you have in the legend, the details, the values inside each dimension.
I lost the total.
Exactly.
Okay, I can see all the countries at once, but I don't have the sum of them. I don't have the total. Okay.
So I can show you in here. If I select total, I only have one line, the trend line.
Okay, so I can see the trend line only here. Okay.
Okay, so this is a trick, and we can show this in Power BI desktop again. So in this case, we don't have to build another field parameter. We already have one. And I mess up because I didn't duplicate to have this, but I think we can move on. So in this case, I will
You jump the
close
script,
this,
okay.
delete, exactly.
Okay.
And
So delete everything.
I will delete, yes. And I will keep this so for the next ones. So in this case, we don't have to create a new field parameter. Like I said, we can reuse the one that we already created. So for that, I have to select the slicer.
Okay.
I will put here our slicer.
Because you are not opening the wizard and put the slicer by default.
Exactly. So in this case, I have to select the slicer, and I have to drag my dimension field. So you can see in here, we have our fields.
Okay.
So what we can do now, we can add a new one. We will drag again our dimension fields, but now we can, we want to see the values, right?
Yes.
How can you make this?
I'm hoping that you will build something in DAX, something.
No, nothing. We'll not do nothing, because by default, the field parameter will allow us to, instead of showing the dimensions, we'll show the values of selected fields.
Okay, so by default, the field parameter allows us to show the values of the fields that are inside or in the configuration of the field parameter.
Of the selected fields, exactly.
Okay. So
I will select this.
I said before that you would break it. I said.
This is not break it. This has an explanation, and we can see in here in detail that this is happening. I will zoom it to show you that this is not supported. Is not supported because there are fields that have no relationship between them, right? In the first, we show the model, and we see that geography has two columns that we are using. I remember. But then the product and the manufacturer has no relationship with geography. So that's why we have this error. But actually,
so you know how to resolve it.
Yes, how we can resolve it.
So if you click country, that will work.
Exactly. If I can select that, if I select country, this is working. If I select country in city, this is working as well, right? Okay,
I understood. But then, if you select something with no relationship between them, it will fail.
Exactly.
Makes sense.
So actually, we will use this to basically show in the legend, and we want to use only one dimension, right, in the legend. So for that, and you can see this is a slicer. So all the settings for the slicer are available. So in this case, instead of using the multiple select option, we will select the single select. So in this case, this is not breaking at all, because this is always need to be one option selected, right? So in this case, this is in single select, and I can see that all the values are changing when I select a different dimension, right?
So it's resolved.
Is resolved. So I can build our visual now. So in this case, I will use our measure again, sales amount. In this case, I will use the month for here. Now I have the trend line, right? This is showing me.
So we are already having the total.
The total. In this case, we have the total because we didn't select any country. We don't have the country in the legend, right? But I can show you
But
that
if you click the country, you can see the value for them. If you click
Yeah.
Australia,
I can select one country
If-
and I can add more than one country for.
but they are grouped. I cannot compare them.
Exactly.
Okay, I'm,
But
I'm
this is changing.
summing them. I'm adding them to same value.
This is changing with values that are summing up for the different countries in this case. But for that, I will.
So we have the total, but we don't have a way to compare two values. Okay, right now we have a way to compare values and we can choose.
Yes, I can use the notice. I'm ahead of our time. In this case, we have here the dimension in the legend. And you can see that all the values that are showing up in here are the values
Can you
inside this
increase the
dimension.
legend values only so we can check if we are not missing any? Okay. So we are having the values from the country that is selected in field parameters.
So if I change to city, you can see all this is changing, manufacturer, this is changing, right?
Okay.
All the names are dynamic.
And now you can select in the other one. Okay, so we got two lines, you can compare them, but what is the total?
Yeah,
If I want
we
to see the
log
total.
the total, right? Because in this scenario, if you don't select any of the values, it's showing all the values. And if I select more than one, we'll show different lines for each of one.
Okay,
So I can you make the total, right?
I believe you have a solution.
Yes, we have the solution. In this case, we have to do something in our model, but this is very easy. Because like you saw, all these are columns that are already in our model, right? So for this, we have to have basically a column that will sum up all the values in one dimension. So for that, what I recommend, go to our sales and we will create a new column. Basically, we call it total, and we will put here the same value for all our cells, right? In this case,
I'm still not
basically,
okay.
basically our column will map all the values of the cells in the total.
Okay.
So I can add this column in our field parameter, and when I select the total, basically we have only one value inside them. So we will have only one line for this.
Okay.
So, like I said before, the wizard is not no longer available. So I have to go to our DAX table.
So you go to the field parameter again,
Exactly.
where we have 4 items.
4 items. So I have to add one more. I will call it total. I will use the name of to reference the total from sales. This is a column, right? And then I will put these in order 4, and then I will put the group.
A different group, a different value in the last column.
Exactly.
Can you increase so we can share everything? So we have a new element that is nothing related to the other ones, but is a physical column that we created from the facts table. Will be appearing in the last place in the list because you put it 4.
Exactly.
And then we are not grouping these as the other ones. It's not you, it's not product, but it's a total.
This is a total.
So we'll be separated from the other
Yes.
ones if we use the group.
Exactly. So if I click in here, you can see we have a new line for that, right?
Can you clarify one thing? we created a new column in that, right? Was our decision. For the total, we don't need this group. We won't use this group. Could we have a tuple with only 3 elements and not 4 in this table?
No, because this is a table, right? So you have to have the number of the elements in all the lines, right?
Okay. And
So
Power BI will tell us?
Yes, if, for example, I clear this, just to show you that this is an error, okay? Because basically you have to have the same number of
It
columns.
makes sense for me, but it would fill with blanks, I don't know. But okay, it makes sense for me. Have the same structure, we need to have the same number of columns and fill with the same kind of data in those columns.
Exactly. So
Okay.
I will replace this again.
And sorry, Maria, but you always know that I don't follow the script, Maria.
Okay, I know. So automatically we have here the total, right? And if I select the total, now I have the trend line.
That we had in the beginning.
Exactly. You can see in here that we have a legend, okay? Because in this case, we have the legend like in the previous one, because this element is in the legend of the visual. But in this case, we only have one option, right? So that's why you always have one line in here.
Very nice. Very nice indeed.
So that's it for these requests.
I
think
I asked all my questions. I don't know if someone else has more questions, but I'm okay. I like it.
So I think you can move on for the third
Yep.
one.
I don't.
You
Yes?
can go.
Okay.
You can keep going. There's no questions in the chat right now.
Okay, so for now, you only see using dimensions in our fill parameters, right?
Yes, dimensions cross analyzed by a fixed measure only, right?
Exactly.
Only one measure.
Only one measure, sales amount in this case, and we can change the dimension. But
sometimes we want to compare with previous year, for example, or change between sales amount and see sales quantity.
exactly, let me show you. For example, we want to see, like you said, the sales amount and the sales last year, the previous year. Or for example, we can show the growth from the amount and the quantity, or the quantity itself related to the previous one as well, comparing to the previous one as well. So
sometimes we need to do some complex reports to do what you are showing with some buttons and actions and okay, or a DAX table with the switch and I don't know. Okay, I don't know what you have in the back end.
So this is very similar to the previous demonstration because we will use fill parameter to create a list of measures that are available. So then we will group them because it makes sense for the analysis, because like you see, the amount is in euros, the growth is in percentage, the quantity is in units, right?
Okay, so no sense to compare them between them.
Exactly. That's why we have here again single select. The single select works not only for one element, but for the group as well. Okay, because this is considered one single select because this is a group. Okay.
Okay.
So PowerBI desktop, right? In here, I will duplicate to have a clear canvas, and now we'll create a new fill parameter.
So a new one, let's go to the wizard again.
Exactly.
We can read.
This is exactly the same wizard, okay? But instead of selecting dimensions, we will select measures.
Maybe after preview, we will be able to use the wizard to add new fields or rearrange the order or create new columns. Maybe if someone from Microsoft may be listening, that can be as well a good idea.
So in this case, I will select in here some sales amount, sales last year, growth. We have 6 measures, okay?
Okay.
And we'll keep the slicer in here. So I will create
Because we want to use it right away, right?
I don't have.
You are not charging your.
Mhm. This is from that. Is a problem, okay? So in this case, we have here the list of the measures, right? And what you want to show. Let's select the table and drag our okay. As you can see, we have all the measures appearing in the table. We don't have any selection on the measure field, right? So all the measures will appear, but I can show that if I select one, only will appear one, if I select two, and so on, right? So, but we want.
And the order will be like we already saw.
Is the same thing.
Is respecting the clicks.
Exactly. The order in the list will be the order that we select in the creation of the field parameter, but then we can select different ones, and you can see the order will maintain the order of the selection. So we want to create basically a line chart. So I will change to line chart. Is only to show you. I will put the measure field in our axis, and I will put the mouse in here, right? So as you can see, we have all the measures by default. I will clear this to show you that this is default vision. By default, we have no selection of measures, so all the measures will appear in the chart. But these don't make sense, right? Because we have different units in here. So by default, I will zoom it.
Showing euros, but there are measures in there that not euros. Right?
Exactly.
Okay.
This is by default the first one, okay. But if I select a different one, I can see the
right unit.
The format is changing, okay. But for this, like we saw, basically you want to use a group and the single select to
prevent the user error.
Yes, to help the user to select his correctly.
What he want, but a good selection and not mix things that should not be compared.
Exactly. So for that, first of all.
So we will redo something similar to what was done. Create a new column, a new tax column.
So in this case, I want to make this quick, but quantity, and then we want the growth. Okay, now
can you zoom it? Thank you.
Again, we have the column called value for, right? But we will change this.
Yes, I did not say anything because I know that you can change it. Okay, you show.
Okay, group, and then we'll.
So what we are seeing is working with a list of measures is similar, is the same as working with a list of fields. We can do the same things. We can build a list of measures like we did for a list of fields and group them and work with them and build a visual with combination of them.
Yes, so now you can select the amount and see the two measures or select just one. With control, we cannot change group more than one in here because this is a single select, but we can select the group and see the two measures in here.
Okay.
So are you satisfied with this?
I am. The only thing that we cannot do with measures is to look to the values inside the measures. But
Exactly.
because they are not fields, we cannot, and there's no sense to do it, to go deeper and see values.
Yes, to show values only works for dimensions, not to measures, because measures don't have the values inside, right?
Yes.
Measures only return the values for each dimension that we are analyzing.
Okay. Okay, great. another scenario that is very nice to have and will make reports easier. I remember to work with that like a multi-group indicator with switch.
We've got a question, Bruno
Okay.
Bruno and Maria, from your colleague Diogo. Go ahead.
Hello. I have a question. If I work only with Beam files, is it possible to create field parameters as well in Tabular Editor? I mean, without opening PowerBI desktop.
Yes,
It is, yes.
yes, you can do this. You want to show right away this?
Yes, we can. It's not a demo that we have in here, but it's a quick thing, and I believe we have time. So
Yep.
it's a quick thing to show. Yes.
Okay, so
Okay, thank you.
like I show, yes, welcome, welcome. No, thank you.
Well,
Thank you for the question. So like you saw, this is a calculated table, right, in DAX, okay? But if you want to see this in Tabular Editor, I can show you something that is inside this table
Mhm.
to make this a dimension field, a field parameter table, okay?
Yes, before creating from scratch is easier if we look to the field parameters that we have already created in Tabular Editor, so you can see how this is being built, and then it will be replicating that in the Tabular Editor. So the beam will have a structure similar to this and will behave the same way.
So you can see here.
You will need to zoom it.
Yes,
at
just
Tabular
to-
Editor. Yes.
Have an overview. This is a calculated table. You can see here that this is can zoom it.
Yeah.
The symbol of the calculated table, right? And you can see here that we don't have partitions, but we have here the expression used to create this, right? But there are a trick in here, okay? I can show you in here that our column dimension fields, and I can show you that this is one.
The column with the name of that is grabbing the values from the source tables and source column. That the column, if Maria is showing right now, that is hidden. As you can see, was not visible in the desktop to put in the visuals. We could force to see it and use it, but it's not to be used. The other one that we were using, the dimension field, is the one that we should use. This one is where the real magic is happening. And that is the one that has something that we need to replicate. So we will have the behavior for the field parameter. That is this extended property. This is for us, we need to be honest, this is like a black box, what is happening in the bag for this version 3 kind 2. We don't know why it's not version 4 and kind 1, but is what is needed here to have a field parameter. So we need to have this column with a function name of that we understand why it's grabbing the fields from the table and the column, but it needs to have this extended property. So PowerBI will work in the backend to do the DAX queries to grab those values from the source fields. So this needs to be an extended property added to a column with version 3 and kind 2, and that will work. So if we create a calculated column table from the scratch, and we create with the same DAX expression.
Exactly. I will first copy this, just don't make this. But I will create a calculated table, okay? And then I will put here example fields.
Always the easy way could be duplicate one field parameters that can be built by the wizard in desktop, okay? So if you need to really work with the beam and you want to be fast, if you can grab a field parameter already created in a desktop, you connect Tabular Editor like we are doing, you copy that table in the other beam and grab it and paste in here. and then you change the names and the name of source, and that will work, will be.
Yes, but you can see the structure of this table is not very complicated, so I think it's easy to create from scratch, because you only to keep in mind that we have to use this type of structure, but this is very, very easy to create, right? So the only thing is that I have to first save this, but then I have the values. I can change this, okay, like we did in PowerBI desktop. But in this case, I want to show you that in the value tool, first of all, I want to show you something. Let me show, because I already create the table and I have here the table, okay? But in this case, this table is not working as a field parameter already, okay? Like we said, for example, if I duplicate this and I grab this to a slicer, for example, this is not working, okay?
And it's not by the extended property, it's about the names that we have, because we have value 1, value 2, value 3, value 4, and the DAX expression, the names are not the same.
And I have to refresh now first. That's why.
Also.
But then if I put here our table, we don't have the behavior that we saw first, right? We are having a list of the values that we have in here, because this is a common column, okay? So returning to tabular editor, and then I will copy, I will making here something in the extension parameter. And then I will create in here a new property, okay? In this property, the name has to be parameter metadata, and then the value has to be that one that we saw before, right? So the name, parameter metadata, and the value version 3 kind 2. So if I put this okay, and then I save this, I can return to our
Refresh.
It is not appearing to refresh right now. Let me. So
the symbol in the column already changed.
Exactly.
You can show that it changed.
Yes.
You can see a new symbol in the column, because it's already figured it out that that column is a different thing with an extended property to work in a different way.
So in this case,
we have the behavior of the field parameter. So that it is a way from scratch to create a field parameter. Now we could change the name of the columns to not to be value 1, value 2 to be the same as we have.
I can rename it in tabular editor as well.
But
okay.
I'm concerned about the time, Maria. We need to save time for the questions.
I think the answer. You have answered the question, right?
Do you believe that we answered your question? Would you be able to respond to do it by yourself right now?
Yep, Diego has answered in the chat, so we're good to go.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
So moving on, right? We have here two more scenarios to show you. So the next one is basically to
put everything together, right? So we were talking about dimensions, we were talking about measures. We saw that they both can work in the same way. We will lose the camera for a little bit because we need to charge the PC. That does not allow the camera and the charger at the same time.
But the main focus is the desktop, not us, right? So.
Yes.
So in here, yes, we want to take advantage of our two field parameters, right? We have the field parameter to dimensions, we have the field parameter to measure, so we can use both to, in a single visual, basically have dynamically change between the dimension that we are analyzing and the measure that we are analyzing. So you can see if I select country, I can change to sales amount, and then I can change to sales quantity. All the things are changing dynamically. I can, for example, select the product and see the quantities for the product. And this basically is we are using basically the two field parameters at once to have this very dynamic and very easy to the end user to select what they need to use in their analysis.
Okay, so they can build their own graph.
Exactly, basically is that. So how we can make this? This is very easy. We already have these field parameters, so let's duplicate these. And in this case, basically, we will select the first slicer and put in here the dimensions. And then we will add a new slicer and put our measures. So we'll create now our visual. Basically, we will grab this to here and this to here. So once more, this is not. So you can see we have
So
here.
we are putting the axis, the field parameter with the fields from the dimension, right?
Exactly.
And you are putting the y axis, the measure field. Okay.
So
But I don't understand what is there. It's strange.
It is strange because we don't have.
We are having all measures again, right? And all the measures again.
This is
and all
a stack.
blah. Okay.
It's a stacked column chart, so this is stacking the values. So in this case, these ones is very big and the other ones are very small. Ones are in percentage, so these don't make sense, right? To mix up all of this, right?
Okay.
So basically, what we are doing is select the single select.
Okay. In that one for the measures, that could make sense. We don't have it in the service, but it would make sense to have the group, right?
The group, yes, we can use the group, and instead, for example, of the stack, we can use this one.
Okay.
And for example, if we put this with the group, we can see the amount side by side, right? The value of the current year and the previous year side by side, for example, and then the country will
do the same thing, but we can change the dimension that we are analyzing and compare the both measures that we want to compare.
Exactly.
Okay.
And so on. So this is very
it's very nice to have a place where the user will be able to build the report they want. So they can have several visuals in the same page with this liberty to choose what they want and choose between measures, choose between fields, and build their own analysis.
So you can group as well in here, because that way we can have the hierarchy as well.
Okay. Great.
So this is like the other ones, but in this case we have the two axes changing dynamically instead of just one.
Okay. So we are in a point that, okay, field parameters by default and being very easy to work with allow us to build a list of field dimensions, build a list of measures. I can use them separately, or I can use them in the same visual as we are seeing to be dynamic in what I'm shooting.
Exactly.
We need to be careful about some things, not to cross things or compare measures that don't make sense. And we got that trick to have the total. Okay, but my question is, we have two field parameters that are separated, right? So we are not messing them up.
Yes.
Is that a limitation of field parameters? We need to use categorical fields and we need to use measure fields, and they need to be separated in two different field parameters.
Actually, no. Okay.
No? Okay.
In one single field parameter, you can mix measures and dimensions. Okay.
So if I want to have because sometimes we have that request. We have a request to a user because they want to export something from a table and they want to have a structure that will have 4 fields and 2 measures, but the other guy that is using the same report wants to have 3 fields and 3 measures, and they like that to be in a certain order because they export it and they love Excel. We give them Power BI, but all the data will end up in Excel. So they will export it and they will build macros and they want that order. We need to build 2 reports, or can these hero field parameters help us to have that dynamic in that table, one report, and all the users can build whatever they want?
Exactly. This is a good question because, like you said, many times users can build their own tables, right? Or other charts. But in this case, we are talking about tables, right?
Yes, tables. A very specific request to have dynamism, to have the columns or the measures that I want in the table by the order that I want as well.
Exactly. So in this case, for example, the end user will use this app. This app is not available for edition, right? So in this case,
so not self-service, only self-usage.
Exactly. So the user will not be able to create their own reports, but we can give them a report or an app in this case that will allow the user to create the table like they wish. Okay. In this case, we have the field parameter with the list of dimensions, the list of the measure. This is a single field parameter, and then basically the user can select only the country, then the state, and then the sales amount, for example. So in this case, we are allowing the user to create, without editing the report, create his own table. Okay. So in this case, you can see that we select only 3 and we have the table with only 3. If I clear this, all the columns will appear, but then the user can select again, for example, the country and then the city. I can mess up the order like we saw before, for example, the segment and then the manufacturer, and the order will maintain the order of the selection. Okay. And then our measures at the end to see them in our table.
Okay.
That's
yes, that was what I was talking about. Yes.
Okay. How we can make this? Returning to the Power BI desktop, I will duplicate again. I have the canvas cleared. So in this case, I already create this. Okay, yes, I will show you.
I'm seeing that we have time.
Do you want to create?
I would say so.
Okay.
And they will be seeing this from the scratch. We have the cake already cooked, but we can make it because we have a little time.
I will call these mix fields because we are selecting dimensions in measures. Okay. I can have this name because the first one is with an underscore, so I have the ability to do this. But then I will select in here some dimensions, and now not in here, but I can select the order that I want. So first
country, state, I don't know.
Country, and then region, and then state, and then district, city.
Okay.
Then we can, for example, go to manufacturer and select the manufacturer, and then in product we can select category, segment, and product, for example, right?
Yes.
And then you can go to our measures and select the one that you want. So in this case, like you can see, okay, you have dimensions and measures in same field parameter.
Not click yet, okay? So I'm waiting to see that if that will work.
Just to show you that you can reorder in here before you can click create, okay? Then we cannot change this, but in this case you can reorder. You don't have to deselect the measure and okay, grab again. You can reorder in here.
Okay, that was not in the script yet. That is my part of things that are not in the script.
Okay, but I think
thank you so much,
right?
Thank you.
So I will create, but then we have here some tricks to show you.
Okay, so I have the list. Can you zoom it? Because it's hard for me, it will be hard for them. Okay, we have the list with everything that we selected, right?
Exactly. We have the list, like the previous field parameters that we create. We know
That would be great right now to split from dimensions and measures, so the user will know what are those.
in this case, we can have the list without this, but I think it's useful for the user know that some of them are dimensions, some of them are measures, right? So
Would be a good challenge to grab a user from the audience and make them do it, right? Because we showed twice.
yes, do you want to participate in here?
Would be fair enough to check if they are with the attention to what we are talking about.
So,
But okay, we won't do it. We won't. They are getting more nervous than us. So
I'm not nervous, are you?
I was.
In here is measure.
So you are creating the new column again?
Yes, the new column again.
And with a group for dimension or measure, right?
Exactly. Basically, like we saw in the cooked cake. What is wrong?
The 11th one is having.
Was to see if they are paying attention.
Yes.
And they are.
Yes. Thank you.
Okay. Great audience in here in DevScope.
And in Belgium as well.
In here in France. So I'm missing something because there are no in here as well. No, not in here. Not in here.
Seven.
Oh, 7. I was seeing the 7 line, not 7-1. In here, I have here exactly. That's why I made up the cake.
Yes. Yes, we have.
But in here, okay, now you have the list of the measures and dimensions that we want to use, and then we have yes, field group type, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just to be a different name from the previous one. And now
okay, we have a field type, we have the order. Okay. Maria, I forgot. I was asking, I want to have the, can you go to product and see all the columns there?
Let me, yes. You can use
the currency.
Currency?
Yes.
Okay. You want to add the currency, right?
Yes, but I want to add the currency in the middle of the manufacturer and the category.
Okay, you want to add in here, right? I will.
Yes, I want something. I could tell you, but
currency.
Mm-hmm.
Not yet. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, you can add it, right? You can actually put in here and select in here currency. I will use the name of, not the name of, and then I will product currency. I'll close, and then which order that you
want to be in the middle of that manufacturer and the category.
So for that, if I want to put here 6, we already have the 6, right? And if I replace this,
sorry, Maria, but yes, you will need to change everyone.
Yes, I have to change everything, right? So that's why I have a trick to share with you. Because instead of change everyone below the 6th one,
okay.
If previously we basically multiply this for 10, for example, if I put this 20, 30, 40, and so on.
Okay, if we previously had the order changed.
Yes, I will put in here just to show 60, 70. Let me go on. Basically, I'm adding a 0. Okay, this is still incremental, right? But instead of incremental 1 by 1, is incremental 10 by 10.
Okay,
right?
But then needs to be done after the creation through the wizard.
the wizard is creating
And
this incrementally.
why do you feel that this will help to my request?
Basically, if I add something in the middle, instead of change all the ones below, I will put here, for example, 55.
Okay, so you are always, when you are adjusting your list, you are always leaving space to put new lines, at least 9 lines, to put new lines without the need to readjust everything.
Exactly.
Okay, that is a good trick.
That way, if I put 66, 55,
If I forgot
55.
another one and I ask you to
Exactly.
add another one, you have space between
exactly.
the existing ones.
That's why
Very
I
nice, very
select
nice.
55 instead of 51, for example, right? So that way we have an order already, but in this way it's more easy because in this scenario you have 20 more or less, right? But
We can have 60, we can have 40.
100, for example, because if you want to give the opportunity to the user to create his own report, maybe you have more dimensions, more measures to add to this field parameter, right? So in this case, I think this is the best approach for our order numbers. So in this case, to show you that the currency is already in here, you can see the order is like we define, right?
Yes.
And in this case, we can select the table, drag just one field parameter, the mix one, and then by default, all the columns will appear in the order of the list. And then, like we saw in the service, we can select just one, we can select.
And you can use this group, right? You can use it.
You can use this, but we can select, like you said, this, and so all the list of the measures and dimensions that I have available to create my table.
And we can only create one column to group.
Repeat, please.
So we can or we can't only create one column to group the field parameters.
No. We can create another column to group them, okay?
So we can have groups and subgroups
Exactly.
in our field parameters.
Basically, if you create new columns, we are creating hierarchies because the names are grouping our fields, right?
So that will work as a calculate table with calculate columns.
Exactly.
Okay.
For example,
Okay.
do you want to show something like?
It could be the subgroup that we have. Yes, something
Yes.
like that. Yes.
Something like, I will make this more efficient, I hope.
If we fail, no.
Huh?
No.
If you fail,
If fail, it will not be more efficient.
I hope not. Okay. Product. And then I can reuse this. Like we saw before, all the elements have to have the same number of columns. So I want to make sure that you do this for all of them.
The amount, yes.
Amount. In this case, I will add this. And then I will put here the quantity. And in here, the growth. In this case, I don't want the comma. So
zoom it at the end.
Let's zoom it. And now I have two columns. Okay. The column called value 5, but I can now use this to call it group. And then I can put this in here. So now I have.
Yeah, it's nice. Very nice.
My values grouped not only by measure and dimension, but other types of.
Without breaking the behavior.
Exactly.
It's very interesting.
So that's it, Bruno. I have nothing more to show. I don't know if there are some questions, but we have here some slides just to sum up the session. But if you want to make a question.
I have about 2 questions now. Let's say that we do those first, then we go into the slides. We give people some time to come up with some more interesting questions. And then, does that sound good? Okay. Probably a short answer for you Hans was asking questions. Do you have an idea if field parameters will ever make it into the on-premises version of analysis services? So SQL Server analysis services on-premises, because it's not right now, and he's interested to know if it will be in the future.
We don't know.
No.
Honestly, we don't know.
No. I don't know either, and I'd be very surprised if it did, to be completely honest. Yeah. Then Ilse had another question, which I think we've kind of answered right now, that if you have the hierarchical slicer, can we only show the amounts, the growths, and the quantities in the slicers, so without the lowest level of the granularity, and still get the result? So that we hide the leaf level of the measures, and that we can only select on the headers.
So you are saying this?
Yep, that's exactly the one. Yeah.
Yes,
Yep.
Actually, you can do this exactly.
Yep. Perfect. Okay.
In this
Those are
scenario,
all
but in the other ones as well, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Then, okay, Ilse has another question. What are some of the differences that exists between using these field parameters versus working with the personalized visuals option within the servers, mainly speaking in terms of performance?
Okay, first of all, just to the previous question, this is possible because in here in Slicer there are these options, but in the visual, the one is in here is the field parameter itself. Okay, that's why this is possible. Okay, for the second question, actually the personalized visual is a bit different, right? Do you want to add?
It's a different behavior. About performance, we don't compare. We did not did any comparison about that. About between those two approaches. We think this approach is easier for them because it's pre-built the combinations of what they will need and what they can build. And we can avoid in this grouping fields or making the single selection, we can avoid the user from selecting things that we won't cross, and we will build a graph that won't make any sense. But I believe that there are two features that should work together for different scenarios. I don't believe one will replace the other.
No, I agree there. I think specifically because Ilse was asking mainly in terms of performance, it's something that probably would have to be benchmarked, because assuming why the question is asked, I'm assuming there's some performance issues with personalized visuals, but then there's no guarantee that the same issues will not appear with field parameters. So I think it's a question that needs some further testing.
Yes, I agree. And the field parameters, we can share that they are working with two different queries in the backend. And the first one is building the structure of what is needed for the visual itself. That is one thing that we have in the limitations, because that is being handled by the tool that in this case, the client is the PowerBI desktop in this case, but when we publish this PowerBI service, that is not the visual that we see with field parameters is not getting an analytical query from the data as the other visuals. It's having two queries. One is building the structure of the table that we need, and then it's asking the model to give the data for that structure. So that is not, they say that is not making worse the performance to do that, because building the structure is very quick. But like this is in preview, we don't know how this will end. Right now it's very fast. But when we have 100 fields to be put in the measure itself, it can be hard to build that table. But I believe that is more because of the complex of the model and the number of lines, and not the field parameters itself.
Yeah. Okay, good. We don't have any more questions, so let's jump into the recap slides, and then we'll see if any more questions come up.
Okay, perfect.
So wrapping up our session, we saw different examples. One trick that we want really to share, because we faced that thing in our request and change, is that order to be incremented by 10 or whatever you want, but not keep. If it's a small list, it won't matter. But if it's a long list, it will help in future when we need to adjust. Even if we copy paste that lines to Excel and build some kind of optimization to increase them and then copy paste to the Power BI as well. But if we prevent the list to have orders with a larger difference between the numbers, it will be easy to adapt the list with middle items. The second tip is the second demo that we did, that is by default, and we feel that this is amazing in this feature, the field parameters, is that we can use the same field parameter at the same time, one to show the values that are available there, and the other one to go to detail, to choose those detailed values for that categories fields, and have analysis go to the detail, because field parameter is working for us to grab the inside list of the category values.
Then another trick is create new columns, right, to group the fields. Like you saw, you can have several columns. Actually, you can create a calculated column as well, but for these scenarios was not needed to.
Yes, and it's easy to see the DAX and understand what we are building. But we can do a calculated column, not in that expression, in the tuple, in the DAX tuple. We can create a calculated column with complex logic to put something, if is needed, to field parameters table.
And then one thing that we are not showing today, but we believe this is a more advanced scenario, is that we can actually use the tables that are created by field parameters to use them to create relationship between other tables of the model. Okay, there are some scenarios that this makes sense. Today we have no time to show all of these, but maybe in the future we can.
Yes, maybe in a second session,
a new session for that,
or in a quick, a more smaller session with more focus in this advanced scenario, we could explore this. Because for today, that was more an introductory section.
Yes,
in the beginning.
I think it's important.
We believe that was not so.
I think it's important to show something very quick, that we have the model in here, right? And all the field parameters that we create is not related to the model. Okay?
Yes, they are like island tables that I usually call them.
That's why we
isolated
use name of to reference the columns and so on. But actually, we can use this to relate to different tables or between them, because, for example, if you want to restrict some measures to some dimensions or some dimensions to some measures, for example, we can create here some relations between them. But just be aware of this. We don't show any scenario in here today.
Yes, but it's possible.
That is possible, yeah.
So about limitations, and we are not sure if those limitations will be there when field parameters will be final, not preview. Okay, but right now AI visuals and Q&A are not supported. We, as you saw by default, if we don't select anything, everything is there. It's not possible to not have anything selected, right? If we select one, we get one. If we select two, two. And if we don't select anything, we get everything. So there's no possible to select none. Doesn't work with live connection data source without a local model. And it doesn't work as well with the implicit measure. So it only works with the measures that we show today, sales amount, sales quantity, whatever, DAX expressions, because the implicit ones, they are not
They are
working.
columns.
Yeah,
They are columns.
they are columns with logic behind, but that is not working right now with field parameters. Is not possible as well in the drill through or for a tooltip page. Also, so these are very limitations right now to use hierarchy fields in the field parameters. And a good thing, not a limitation, but a consideration, and that is very cool, is the measures are keeping the format string they have, as you saw. And the other thing that we were talking about, the two queries that field parameters are building in the backend, one for the extraction and then second to get the data, that is the why is not supported in analyzing Excel. So analyzing Excel, doing the translation between MDX to DAX is not working right now to do this, to check the structure and then reply with the data. So field parameters they don't work yet in analyzing Excel, and we are not sure if they will.
So that's it. If you have more questions, we are available for the answers.
Yes.
Yeah, we've got two questions in the chat, and then I've got one as well. But we'll start with the ones in chat. So Pranam asked the question: does he have to manually set up the field parameters table, or, for instance, is it scriptable through Tabular Editor or another external tool? I know that you showed the how you can do it manually within Tabular Editor, but can you also script it?
We did not do that, but we believe that can be done because we are editing the text, the BIM part, right? So
yep.
We believe that that can be done, but honestly, we did not do it.
And I personally, I would be very surprised if folks like Daniel Otikir or Bernat Akio don't already have some scripts for that. So it would be worth checking that out.
They write everything, right?
They script everything. Yeah.
Yes.
Then the next question from Hans: how do you experience the adoption of field parameters by the end users? Do you agree the sentiment that it is more something for advanced users and not necessarily just business users that don't have that much technical depth?
That is not our understanding.
To build them, maybe.
Now, we are talking about consumers, right? We are talking about consumers. In the customers that we have very good adoption, and this feature was received like a
hero.
Yes, like a hero, like the name of the session, because it answered their request, and I'm talking about large customers that we were migrating from other tools to Power BI, and even they like a lot. They like a lot the analytical pages, but always they end up with tables with everything they want, and they need different combinations. And this feature answered that. So we have several dynamic tables answering different combinations, and that was a very good answer from Power BI to this kind of users. And even in the dynamic pages, for those, we have the personal visuals as we talked about, but even for those, they don't need to be expert users to use it, to build it or to understand, yes, but to consume it, no.
But even for build, for example, before the field parameters, for example, for the measures, we have to have complicated measures in DAX to have this behavior, or for example, for dimension changing the axis, we have to have bookmarks or buttons or something like that. And this is more difficult than build a field parameter, because the field parameter, yes, we grab the DAX and made some changes, but the wizard is very easy to create. By wizard is very easy to create a field parameter. So I think this is more user friendly than the other options.
And for now, from the users, as was the sentence, we are getting very good feedback.
Yeah, I think maintainability is also a very important aspect to what you just mentioned, Maria. Bookmarks, etc., and complex stacks usually doesn't maintain that well over the course of time.
Exactly.
Yes.
Especially bookmarks.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. All right. Then I have a quick question to close off. Now that calculation groups have finally made their way into Power BI Desktop, what would you use when? Because I see some overlap between the two of them, and I see some pros and cons for both of them.
Yes, calculation groups has the ability to, with the selected measure, right, the function, reuse some logic like previous year and year to date or something like that. In here, fill parameter is not replacing this, right? We will continue to use calculation groups to do this, to reuse logic to our measures. But actually, this is Marco Russo or Alberto Ferrari that has a good article about this. To
use
both.
conditional formatting to apply conditional formatting. Use both or field parameters or calculation groups. But as you said, they overlap in some cases. But they as Maria was saying, for this reuse of logic for measures, calculation groups, but for have this long list of different fields all mixed around and have dynamic way to build something, I would say the field parameters.
Okay, I've linked the SQL BI article that you mentioned in the chat window.